ZeniMax Online Studio Director, Matt Firer.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Las Vegas. Welcome to the 2023 ESO celebration. We're really, really happy to be doing events in person. We have 2 days of celebrating ESO with you, the community. We got a full day of presentations. We're so happy to be back doing live events. Thanks so much to all of you that made it to Las Vegas. So thank you for coming. Also, we're live streaming this part of the show, the opening sequence and the first presentation of the day, which is coming up soon and focuses on a deep dive on Necrom. So welcome to everyone joining on the stream as well. But first, we can't do a community event without talking about the community. So ESO seriously would not exist without all of you. You play the game, you bring Tamriel to life, you give us your feedback, whether we want to hear it or not. But most of all, you're definitely the most welcoming, the most awesome community in gaming. You are ESO, and ESO is you. So that's why we named this event the ESO Celebration, because we're here to celebrate not just the game, but all of us. And in fact, we hope to see more of you in person in the future. Next year is ESO's 10th anniversary year, and we're already planning on how we honor all of you and the 10th anniversary of ESO with a big in-person anniversary event next year. Stay tuned for details. We're still working on it. And of course, thanks to everyone at ZeniMax, all the devs at ZeniMax Online, and all our friends at Bethesda. It's really an honor to come to work every day and work with each and every one of you. Your hard work and dedication makes all of this possible. So shout out to the devs. All right, first up in our busy day of panels and presentations is the main event, focusing on our upcoming chapter, ESO Necrom. To introduce the Necrom chapter preview and the all-star dev team panel led by ESO Senior Community Manager Gina Bruno, please welcome ESO Creative Director Rich Lambert.
Oi! Oi! Wow. Thanks, Matt. I'm wearing pants today, yes. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for being here today. We are incredibly excited about what we're going to show you all. This is something really special for us. We really, really dig hanging out with you all, talking to you all, and talking most importantly about something we love, which is ESO. So just in a minute, I'm going to be handing things over to the team that's sitting up on stage here, and they're going to share more in-depth, behind-the-scenes details on this chapter. Before, though, I just want to set the stage. So this year is ESO meets cosmic horror. It's the Daedric Prince of Knowledge and Hermaeus Mora mixed in with the Dark Elves of the Telvanni Peninsula. And you're going to be spending a lot of time in both Apocrypha and the Telvanni Peninsula. You're going to explore a lot of really cool places, you're going to see a lot of really cool things, and you're going to get to experience a lot of really, really cool stories. Apocrypha in particular has something really, really special and some really cool surprises. So if you are familiar with Skyrim and the Dragonborn DLC, you will kind of know when you get into our version of Apocrypha what to expect. It is the yellow-green skies, it's the books for miles, but that's not all we've done. One of the things we love doing is putting our own spin and our own take on things. And we've done that in a new biome that we're calling the Chroma Incognito. And this is a location that the team really went off and really explored, and there's new vibrant colors, and it's kind of a new way to store knowledge for Hermaeus Mora, so we're excited for you all to see that. In addition to these new locations we've got, we also have a brand new class. The first one since 2019. Yes, and this has really been a labor of love. So the team has spent almost 2 years working on this class. They put a great deal of time and effort into this, and it doesn't look play or sound like anything we've created up to this point. It's really, really special. I'm really proud of the team and what they've been able to build, and I can't wait for y'all to get in there and see this. For those of you that are here in Vegas with us today, we do have a preview build. It's upstairs. When you came in, you hopefully all signed up to go in and get a chance to play it. Let us know what you think. We're going to be hanging out for the next 2 days. We want to meet you all. We want to talk with you all. This is, like I said, we love this. And if it weren't for you all, we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much. Yes. And with that, my part here is done, at least for this first part. I'm going to hand this over to the host, our very own Gina Bruno.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rich. Welcome, everybody, to the Necrom chapter preview. My name is Gina Bruno. I'm Senior Community Manager here for the Elder Scrolls Online. We want to welcome everybody watching around the world on Twitch, and also to everybody here in person in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So we'll be live streaming this entire chapter preview, but afterwards we're going to go offline, and then we'll have a bunch of panels and activities for everybody here at the ESO celebration. We have a jam-packed show for both veteran and newcomers alike. We're going to be giving you all the details on the Necrom chapter and update 38. So as we mentioned back in January for the Global Reveal event, we're heading back to Morrowind, where you'll be able to explore the Telvanni Peninsula and Apocrypha, and as Rich just mentioned, the brand new area of Chroma Incognito. During this stream, we're also going to be giving you a lot of detail about the new class, the Arcanist. We'll talk about the new companions, the new world events. What else? All sorts of things. The 12-player trial, of course. Can't forget that one, right? Now, don't forget, everything that we're talking about today is launching in June, but you're not going to have to wait very long to give it a try because it is coming to our test server on Monday. So before we get started, I do want to mention for anybody watching on Twitch, we do have a brand new item available. It's these Moon and Star earrings. You just have to make sure that your ESO and Twitch accounts are linked. And for everybody here, we'll make sure that you also get it. So don't worry. We got you covered. All right, so now let's kick things off. We're going to introduce our first group from the ESO development team. We have Michael Zenke, our lore master. We have CJ Greb, our art director. And of course, Brian Wheeler, our lead combat and PvP designer.
Oh, Lord.
So as Matt said earlier, we are here to celebrate ESO and its community. And all of you have worked on ESO for a number of years. So what does ESO or its community mean to you personally? Zenke, hot seat, you can go first.
Absolutely. So it's a pleasure to be here, everybody. I actually had the distinct pleasure of shipping Elder Scrolls Online with these three amazing people with the original development team. Took a leave of absence from the company. It's going to be 2 years almost that I've been back here in a couple of months, which is crazy to me. I would not be here if working on Elder Scrolls Online was not the highlight of my career. Working with these incredible people, with this amazing community, and with this incredible game.
That was very sweet,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well,
CJ, what about you?
I talk about this a lot, so I hope it's not too much of a pat answer. But we think a lot about the responsibility of working on an Elder Scrolls product because, I mean, you can go into the gaming community, you can say, what's your Elder Scrolls game, right? Like, people have an answer. It's like saying, who's your James Bond, right? Like, they'll say Oblivion or Skyrim or Morrowind or Elder Scrolls Online. And to know that we're part of a community and part of a gaming, sort of legacy that's been around for so many years and is such a big part of so many lives, we take it seriously. We take being a shepherd of this very, very seriously. And thanks, everyone, for being here. It's great to be part of it.
hell yeah.
You're here.
Oh, I guess I'm just the old fart up here. I've been around since 2009. So it's been more than just a job for me. Like, I meet some of my best friends. Like, y'all come over for barbecues. So it's very much like you all, where
You've never invited me over for a barbecue.
well, you need to come over because apparently I'm a good barbecue. So yeah, I met like friends that I play with daily. Like we go on vacations together. They come to like Ren fairs with us and stuff. So it's not just my career and my job, but it's part of like a social network that is not only just for people in the studio, but people that I've met. And it's been just an incredible ride. It's been a lot of fun with everybody.
That was very sweet. I feel like I'm getting all misty-eyed here. So we just started the Shadow over Morrowind adventure, which consists of this whole interconnected story. And we kicked it off just last month with the Scribes of Fate DLC. And of course, the Necrom chapter is coming up next. So in the chapter, players are going to go to Morrowind. They're going to go to Apocrypha, which was last seen in the Skyrim Dragonborn DLC. But it's this whole new adventure, and it's kind of our spin on things. So with that said, how would each of you describe the theme of the Necrom chapter?
That's easy. Extraplanar magic, some truly incredible characters, and secrets that mortals were not meant to know.
I like it.
You're welcome.
When you say cosmic horror, and then you tell artists that they're going to work on something with Cthulhu sort of thematic pieces, like they get excited. Artists dig this stuff, so it was an easy launching pad for us to get to go into the world of Apocrypha and Hermaeus Mora and start to explore, some new areas that we haven't gotten to see since Dragonborn. So it was awesome.
I mean, all that Cthulhu and like cosmic horror stuff, that was just like fuel for making the new class. So it was just great to have like feed off of all that stuff. It was awesome.
Well, CJ, I'm glad you mentioned Mora because our community went nuts when they saw he was going to be part of the chapter, and I know they've been dying to learn more. They want to know Mora.
No, okay.
There it is. It starts.
It's going to start, right?
I'm sitting next to Zenki, who's the king of puns.
Listen.
I will not match him. But
It's all good.
We're not going to try. So for those that may not know, Hermaeus Mora is the Daedric Prince of Forbidden Knowledge. He's making his return to Necrom since last being seen, not just in ESO's base game, but the Skyrim Dragonborn DLC. So in terms of our chapter, why Mora and why now?
Absolutely. So interestingly, Mora actually arose organically from the narrative that was originally concepted. The whole core of the story is a secret so powerful, so terrible that could unmake reality. And so that as a starting point, right, Mora he wiggles his way onto the scene, right? So this is a great opportunity for us too to show Mora in a different light. Unlike a lot of the other Daedric princes, he, especially in this story, exists in a more neutral space. It's also a great opportunity for us to show his many and varied mortal followers. There's a lot of different folks running around Apocrypha, and it's going to be an exciting time.
Let's actually talk a little bit about about his creation. So CJ, what was it like bringing Mora to life?
Yeah, very cool. I mean, we see a little bit more in base game, but he's a little more of a diminutive Mora than we're used to seeing. Like in Dragonborn, he was this big, impressive thing that was crazy, and so we wanted to pull that in. We wanted to make Mora a little more, update him for ESO a little bit, but. The really interesting thing was working with a Daedric Prince that really wasn't on one side or the other. Not good, not evil. He's just interested in cataloging, in collecting all that can be collected, right? And so that was the place we started from, and it was from there it's just fun.
It's good to have a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know who else has a lot of history in the Elder Scrolls, and especially in Morrowind, is the House Telvanni. So for those that may not be as familiar with this group, I'm excited for it.
Indeed.
Zenki, can you give just like a quick Cliff's Notes version of who House Telvanni is?
Absolutely. So the great houses of Morrowind, right? Like these anchor bedrock elements of Dunmeri culture. House Telvanni exists in this special place within our timeline. House Telvanni has divested themselves of a lot of the other concerns of the Dark Elf houses. They're not part of the Ebonheart Pact, the Almeri Dominion, or the Daggerfall Covenant. They're doing their own thing, right? So this is a great chance for us to have a mortal anchor on Tamriel where these guys are all about secrets, hidden knowledge, and, dark politics. It's a good time.
Yeah, we talked a little bit when we were starting the process about how the Dunmer felt like a good fit for the story because we were dealing with Hermaeus Mora. The Dunmer are very reverential about their ancestry, about their past. They're kind of like steeped in that, in maintaining that past. And then we knew we were going to go to Necrom, a city all about revering the dead, right? So it felt like a good fit from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, it'd be great if there was like a class all themed about secrets and all that kind of stuff. Wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be pretty neat. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to one of the things the players were most excited about when we announced it back in January, and that was the reveal of a brand new class, which was the Arcanist.
What a segue.
I'm here. I got to take this from you.
Segue. Almost like we planned that.
Crazy.
So first, let's start just with the basics. Wheeler, what is the Arcanist?
So it's simply our 7th class for our 7th chapter. It's basically this class themed after a lot of things we've talked about, this cosmic horror, Cthulhu style. We wanted it to play and feel and be something different that we've made out of any classes before. So we took a lot of time and a lot of care to not only make it look and feel and sound badass, but also it had to be different than anything we made.
And brought us in, like the artistic side, brought us in really early on the process. Like earlier than they needed to bring us into it because...
I would say perfectly
Well, at the beginning
timed.
it wasn't... At the beginning it wasn't necessarily going to be an Arcanist, right?
No,
They were
whatever.
throwing out all the ideas at the wall,
Yep.
and you brought us in real early. You say, okay, what's floating your guys' boat? Like what's feeling exciting here?
We brought him in early
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Narratively involved very early as well. And it's one of the really exciting things about every class in Elder Scrolls Online. We want to give you the narrative storytelling tools to shape your own connection to Tamriel. And man, I got to tell you, the Arcanist is a whole new set of tools.
So then, Wheeler, what about the overall inspiration and the backstory with the Arcanist?
Yeah, we were, again, like CJ said, it was just like make a class, and we knew we had to have it themed after, Hermaeus and that whole cosmic horror, but things like really jumped off when we started talking about the Black Book. Like that was like an immediate aha
Black
moment
Book?
where we were like, oh, it's cool because you can draw from so much power and so many secrets, and that could be any kind of magic, and we went with this cosmic, wild color, and it just clicked immediately.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
it was a gift for us because we didn't know it was going to be Hermaeus Mora themed at first.
Right.
And we were already working on the Hermaeus Mora stuff, so some of the glyphic stuff, some of the you'll see some if you stay around for the class panel later, you'll see some of the early concept art for the class when we were working on it, and we got to get into all the stuff we were already working on for Mora and pull it over. So it was great.
Well, getting to design a brand new class is something that you all don't get to do super often, so I'm sure the team was really excited to kind of get in there and get their hands dirty with it. What was one of the most fun parts of developing this new class?
I mean, we get to make new sets, and we get to mess with abilities from time to time. But having a whole suite of abilities to toy with, especially with like the color palette and the vibe we were going, that really opened up the stage for a cool sound stage, and kind of do audio stuff on the side. So
Wheeler's kind of an audio nerd. Yes.
we had a moment there where we were like, all right, let's really explore some different frequencies and sound tables that we haven't messed with before. So it not only was fun to get the cool look and the animations and all those visuals, but when you put the headphones on, you catch bass, you catch all of it. It's really fun to hear that stuff, right?
Into it.
Heck yeah. I was just saying, heck yeah. Narratively too.
Heck yeah!
I'm into it.
It's about it.
Narratively too, a lot of fun opportunities. Again, for every player, you interact with their class in a different way. And with the Arcanist, you don't have just to be just a Daedric cultist, right? You can have a bunch of different relationships with Hermaeus Mora, with Apocrypha, with the Power Suite itself. It's all up to you to decide what that journey looks like.
Yeah,
When we started to sketch out I was talking about it, we started to sketch out abilities, and we were catching ideas from content and from you guys on the team, making it, and it was a lot of fun. My favorite was we came up with something called the Abyssal
Impact.
We called it Akira arm at the beginning because
That's what
it was
it
just
looked
the tentacles coming out of the arm. That process is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And getting that whole crew together, like you guys were saying, we were brought in early, having that cross discipline, it was a mix of audio effects, animation, lore. We had our designers on it. We had a whole suite of people that were just meshing together extremely
The
well.
engineers right at the beginning of the process.
They were all about it.
Gave
Yeah, it
us
was great.
the runway to get there. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Well, obviously there's a lot that goes into making a new class. How did you all decide on the particular look and feel? So things like the visual effects and the colors and all of that.
Want to talk color?
Sure. So I mean, I'm probably just giggling, but there's a lot that goes into that where you have to look at the colors that exist already on all the classes. You have to look at not just the icons, but I would go into Photoshop and just be screenshot ink dab. This is what it looks like. These are the colors of the Templar. These are the Dragon Knight. And then that left us with a color palette that was like obviously screening out to us like green, purple, black, and you didn't kill me, so I was happy.
No, we didn't have to twist our arms for that. It was all tied to Hermaeus Mora, and we were working on tons of cool Mora stuff, so it was easy.
All right, well, let's get into what I know players are really excited to hear more about, and that is Arcanist abilities and skill lines.
That was cool.
Wow.
They're all about it.
Mom, go home.
So yeah, I mean, we took keys from, I want to say, the Warden and the Necro, where we had the abilities sort of categorized into DPS, tank, and healing or support, because that resonated extremely well with new players and veterans. Like they could go into a skill line, like, all right, here's my damage stuff, here's my tanking stuff. And of course you can, mix and match this how you want, but each skill line having their own vibe of this is their theme, this is what they are mechanically themed after versus, I would say, visually themed after. And we have Herald of the Tome for damage. We have Curative Rune Forms for healing and Apocryphal Soldier for the tanking line. And that, again, that division of the, I would say, gameplay style just felt perfect because, again, we also had that out with the Necro and the Warden, and everybody loved that. So I want to stick with it.
A great example of mechanical constraints being actually very helpful for narrative creativity, right? So because each of the skill lines have a mechanical focus rather than like a thematic focus, that lets us take the different bits that make up the class and interpose them all throughout the different skill lines, right? There's no tentacle line, there's no abyssal seas line, there's no rune line. I know it's every time we talk about this, it's like, oh man, this should have been a tentacle line. That's fine. It makes the Arcanist feel very coherent, right, thematically, which is great.
From our side, right from the beginning of the process, you were on this, Rich was on this about it can't look like anything we've got before. Like it's got to be unique, it's got to look different. And then we were given it was another gift. It was healing and it was damage and it was tanking. So we got to dip into a little bit of everything.
Well, I know we always like to try and make sure that players can play however they want, and we have all of these really great abilities. What are some of your favorite abilities?
I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Fey Carver. That thing's awesome. It's basically a laser beam that you blast out from you any direction you want, and you just control it. And I think we got some audio here, which sounds pretty muffled, but it's pretty cool. Like when you hear it in game, it's just like, it sounds almost like, I can't word it any other way than just a badass laser firing off of you. It's really cool.
Yeah, Necro laser, awesome. So for me, absolutely, it's the Arcanist domain. You drop a vortex of power at your feet, help you and your allies, and again, a lot of great lore opportunities. Do we have any Morian Zenith fans out there in the audience? Any deep lore? No. Okay, cool. I'm the only one. That's right.
Anyone?
I'm extremely used to that. Don't worry about it. For those of you in the audience watching, the lore folks, Morian Zenith is a very powerful, apocryphal character. Makes an appearance in this release, and we got a great morph for Arcanist domain called Zenith's Empowering Disc. It's gonna go over great.
Cool. I already talked about Abyssal Impact, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did? You want to talk about it some more?
No, it's awesome.
You just like
You guys saw it, right? It was in one of the shots in there. I think.
Yeah.
Well, one last thing we should touch on is a brand new system coming with the Arcanist. It's unique to this class, and it's what really makes it special. This is called the Crux system. So, Wheeler, can you explain what this is and how players are going to use it in combat?
Yeah, I mean, you say Crux system, and that makes people think of mechanics, and people go, "What's a dirty word, mechanics?" But I mean, when you think about it, there's the Necro who can gobble up corpses to get cool stuff that goes on their abilities, and even going back to the Templar, they could, do that sort of mechanical thing too. So, we were looking at, in a lot of the development time, what kind of mechanic can fit, A, in Elder Scrolls, and B, isn't going to detract from the combat we already have. We're a very action-based combat. We want you to be in the moment, playing, not staring at the UI. So what's really cool about it is there's this system where you build or spend Crux. Now, it's not required, and some abilities will get extra little additions to it, depending upon how many Crux you spend. You can either have the ability costs less, or it can do some more healing, or it can give you a major or minor that you may not have had if you didn't have Crux. So it gives you that flexibility, whether you're a pro, or some of our high-end raiders or hard moders, versus a new player. It's not a system that's going to overwhelm you, and that was also very, very important with that system.
Our fears were mostly about the user interface side of it,
Right.
Because we have a philosophy where we want you playing the game, we don't want you playing the UI. So we were really afraid we were going to have to see like crux things off of the
On your
side.
bar,
right? Like,
yeah.
but no, we got the tech to put the crux like on the player, so you can still play the game as the player. You're not getting off into the weeds on the side of the screen.
And another narrative opportunity. Crux is, of course, like a fated moment, so an opportunity to bring in fate as part of Hermaeus Mora's portfolio into the class. Great stuff.
Yeah.
And as you all just saw in the video that was playing, the crux, the crux thingies, right?
The thingies.
Don't get technical.
Official
The
term,
thingies.
right? As they're
They're
spinning.
runes.
Okay, actually, they're runes.
That's literally my job. I don't know what that's right.
Well, other players can see that too. So as you're kind of going around, maybe in Cyrodiil, if
Yeah.
you see somebody that has 3 crux
They're
runes
going to unload
spinning
on you.
around.
Look out.
Yeah, watch out for 3.
Well, we had a group of players that were lucky enough to come in and play the Arcanist a little bit early. I know a lot of them were able to publish their preview impressions earlier today.
Thank you.
They've been really excited about playing the Arcanist, and I know a lot of people that were reading this are really anxious to get their hands on it. What are you all most excited about with the arrival of the Arcanist?
I mean, from the combat side and PvP side, just looking at all the builds that people are going to make with this. Like, we get builds all over the place, from veteran to new player to people just went around and craft. So it's going to be wild to see the variety of builds that people have, but also just being able to see like people enjoy it. Like, we've been working on this like for about 2 years, and everybody's like, "Holy crap, that's a long time!" And being able to finally see people play it and enjoy it, it's just like extremely rewarding. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what people make of it from a role-playing perspective. So many great opportunities for new stories, new characters, with this interesting connection to Apocrypha.
I'm looking forward to screaming Tetsuo at the top of my lungs every time I do. Abyssal Impact, have I mentioned Abyssal Impact?
A little bit.
pretty good,
a little
pretty
bit.
good spell.
You seem to like that one.
Well, I know sometimes we sneak in little Easter eggs throughout the game. Are there any that players can expect to see with the Arcanist?
Yes. If you've been around Cyrodiil and Imperial City, you know there's some stuff snuck in there. But this time we kind of were trying to sneak in things associated with the team that built it. There's some phrases or words that had special meaning to people, so we stuck a lot of those into some tooltips.
Heck yeah.
And that kind of gave us an opportunity to give that personal touch to it, but also kind of gets again to what we've kind of talked about here, where it's been a team effort, and from like the top to the bottom with everybody working on the class, they've been giving it their heart and giving it their all. So thanks to everybody back at the studio, and hope you all enjoy it playing it here today as well as on PTS Monday.
Heck yeah.
Well, I want to give a huge thank you to Zenki and to Wheeler for giving us more information about this new class. Can't wait for you all to give it a try, so make sure you hop on PTS on Monday and give us your feedback on it. So in just a few minutes, we're going to dive into the new zone, but first, we'd like to show you how this all comes together in a brand new world premiere trailer.
Oh, I love it.
We use the power of forbidden knowledge, searching for untold secrets. But there is a price to be paid when calling upon the unknown. Sometimes, the unknown answers. Open your mind. The knowledge you seek is waiting.
to release Necrom in just a few months, where you'll finally be able to get your hands on this brand new class, we are excited to let everyone know that the Necrom Prologue quest is live and available to everyone to try right now. So anybody who has access to the ESO base game can jump in and play this Prologue quest. And on top of that, ESO is running a free play event right now, so anyone can jump in and try this content today. So some of you may be asking yourself, what is a prologue quest? I know all of you know, but some people watching the stream may be curious.
Tell us.
So this is, I am going to, I plan to. So this is essentially a quest that prepares you for the chapter content. So you actually kick off the Necrom story arc ahead of it launching in June. So we'll talk a little bit more about this quest and its rewards a bit later in the stream. But first, I would like to introduce some new dev team members that are sitting here. First up, we have Tom Murphy, our zone lead.
Hi.
And the man who needs no introduction, our lead encounter designer, Mike Finnegan. So you both have had a hand in developing some of the community's favorite areas and DLCs.
Favorite.
What is one of your favorite memories from development?
It's a pretty hard question, but one that's very near and dear to my heart is actually a series of books that I wrote in the Greymoor release. So Greymoor, vampires, gothic drama, and somebody came up to my desk and was like, hey, we need a book about cheese. And I was like, well, I can give you 4 books about cheese, and that's Cheeses of Skyrim is my favorite contribution.
Fun fact about that, he also runs the cheese group at ZOS,
like
or
the
the
cheese
cheese club at
Yeah.
ZOS. So.
I'm the Ayatollah of Gorgonzola.
Ayatollah of Gorgonzola, yes, yes.
Finn, what about you?
So I get asked this question all the time about what's my favorite dungeon trial or whatever, and it's like, I like to say it's like picking your favorite kid, and all parents know you absolutely have a favorite kid, but can't say what your favorite kid is. So I actually would rather like to ask you guys, what is your favorite dungeon trial arena? Red Sail Reef. I heard Ninja say Lair of Marsalok. A lot of good stuff. Look at that. Anytime I stay alive, that's good. It's all good. It's all good choices.
There's a healer there, right? So as we mentioned, players are returning to Morrowind this year, but in Necrom, we're actually going to be heading to the Telvanni Peninsula. Why did you all decide to tell this story in a different part of Morrowind, and what's kind of going on in this area?
Yeah, well, to harken back to something our illustrious lore master, Michael Zenke, said, House Telvanni was a really natural fit for the themes of the story we wanted to tell in the Necrom chapter. And it also really gave us a great opportunity to explore Morrowind and Dark Elf culture without really having the lens of the tribunal sort of on them. You know, House Telvanni maybe pays the most lip service compared to like the actual worshippers of the tribunal. And also Necrom as a city predates all of the tribunal worship. So it's just really fascinating stuff to explore when we did our quest content.
Yeah, for us, it went back to sort of the Dunmer being a nice fit for Hermaeus Mora. We knew we were going to go to Apocrypha. We knew we were going to do a lot of fun things with Apocrypha. You know, Morrowind and the Telvanni coast is very much that space in Elder Scrolls where it feels kind of alien, and it's, you know, it's one of our more weirder, you know, interesting areas. So it felt like a fit. It's less Red Mountain, Ashlander. It's a little more, you know, verdant and full of life. But it's always fun to go back to places that we know players have been before. We like to always give people the sense when we hit that nostalgia button, you're coming home, right? And then we smack you with Apocrypha and Cthulhu nonsense. Right?
It's all about the mushrooms.
I love it.
That's really what it is. It's all about the mushrooms.
All the mushrooms.
Well, and it's an area that they haven't seen since Tesserina.
94?
It's
1994
94.
Arena? Yeah, wow.
I know that because that's what my note card said.
Don't give away the magic.
Well, when we say Morrowind, obviously there's things that make it immediately recognizable, like the giant mushrooms, alien landscape, the Nick Sox, for better or worse. So in what ways is the Telvanni Peninsula visually distinct from the rest of Morrowind that players have already experienced?
Yeah, I talked about it a little more verdant. I mean, we knew that the big thing this time we were going to get to go to Necrom. Haven't seen it since Arena, and obviously Arena in 1994, the tech just wasn't there to fully realize what Necrom could have been. But we had all that lore. We knew that it was sitting in the maybe desecrated carapace of a long dead semi-god that maybe Vivek threw down and maybe he didn't. We knew that the White Towers were going to be there, so we had all this great lore to jump off from, and that was probably the most. That was, we were going to be able to give people something they hadn't seen before.
Yeah. So we mentioned Apocrypha earlier. Can you explain a little bit more about what this area is all about?
Yeah, so Apocrypha, domain of Hermaeus Mora, all domains of a Daedric prince are kind of an extension of the prince themselves. So Hermaeus Mora is the prince of forbidden knowledge and fate, and these ideas are really just sort of suffused throughout Apocrypha, right? So he's the great miser of oblivion. He loves to extend his tentacles out into other planes and into Nirn and kind of ensnare as much lore and knowledge as he can and kind of drag it back into his moldering libraries and his like gross, inky seas. Ooh.
Sounds like a pleasant place to visit.
It's a good vacation place, right? Yeah.
It was kind of daunting from the art side. We saw Apocrypha in Dragonborn, and it was really set out in sort of the blank, inky sea, right? And it was the cool platforms with the lacy stuff, unrolling and all that stuff. So we had in the books. So we had that basis to go from, but. We're making an Elder Scrolls game, an Elder Scrolls Online game. We have to give people an overland, right? We have to have a hub town. We have to do the things that give everybody the things they need to play the chapter. And so we had to start thinking about, well, what is a god who likes to collect all things collectible? And you talked about maybe even like literally pulling in pieces of Nirn, right? Because he's cataloging everything and what shapes and what sort of ideas make that up, and somebody hit upon the idea of fossils embedded into the very rocks themselves. And we knew we wanted to match Morrowind's crazy alien environments, so the artists got to just go pure imagination and go crazy, and you'll see it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like we did with the Deadlands DLC. So Deadlands was a space that everybody knows. If you play TS4 Oblivion, that's like this red hellscape with fire and everything. But then we were able to say, well, what does destruction mean? And we had the Stormlands, which were a little bit different. They looked a little bit different. Apocrypha is kind of the same way, where we are able to take what they did in Dragonborn DLC and then really build upon that and put our own stamp on it and make it look kind of like unique in our game.
One of the things I really like, and you just saw it in the video up here, is the usage of books as part of the architecture.
We were a little worried about that. We worry about metrics, and when you have a zone that's like billions of books stacked everywhere, you got to get through it, but we got through it.
No, it looks amazing. So one of the things that, of course, brings a zone to life is the monsters. And Morrowind certainly doesn't have a shortage of just weird and strange creatures. So what are some of the general themes and the approach to the creatures that players are going to be coming across in Necrom?
Yeah, so we went with cosmic horror was the big thing, but also we went back to what players have experienced in the Dragonborn DLC. You've seen the lurkers, you've seen you've seen the lurkers, and you've seen the seekers, and we were going to take those and largely build on what they did and then make sure it fits in our game with all the abilities. But then we were able to build completely new things, and what you see right here is this is the hushed. These are like people that have gone a little bit too far in their worship. They don't have mouths, they're almost like zombie-like. And then this guy right here, which is the mind terror. So these guys operate completely different or a little bit different than what you're used to with monsters. Their attacks almost seem like 1940s like horror films. They're stop motion. They fade in and out.
As you can tell by the expression on Gina's face, she really loves the mind terror.
Loves the mind
Seal of
terror.
approval.
Loves the mind terror.
We literally were thinking about Gina when we were making this. Gina's not going to like this one.
It's got more than 4 legs. Gina's not going to be part of it. She's not going to like it. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the tome shell. The tome shell is this. There you go. It's this little books that have creatures that are inside them, and they inhabit them and go around. So they're little creatures you're going to see throughout Apocrypha. There's the lurker. So like I said, you've seen some of these things in the Dragonborn DLC, and we kind of like flesh them out how they'll fit in our game. He's pretty.
Yeah. Always lurking.
Always lurking.
Yeah.
There's Tome Shell.
Yeah.
They're adorable. I know,
buddy.
right?
The story of the Tome Shell is great because it was so organic. It was just someone saying, well, what would a hermit crab in Apocrypha
In
look like?
That's exactly right. It's exactly right.
I'm sure that won't happen.
Thought the Nixox were bad, and then you introduced these things.
I love the Nixoxes.
Well, thankfully, we have a host of great characters in our chapters. So let's talk about some of the characters that players are going to be coming across in Necrom.
Yeah, so I feel like the best releases we do are ones that give players a motley crew of allies, right? So our goals for Necrom were to go like big and weird with the people that you're going to be spending time with. The first one I'll mention is Laramel the Wise. It's kind of your main ally in the task that Hermaeus Mora sets before you. She is an arcanist. She is not like a cultist of Hermaeus Mora. She's made a bargain with him for certain powers, and he's calling in his part of his due, basically. She can
Subcontractor.
Yeah. She can see threads of fate, which is an extremely rare and valuable gift for followers or people that are in Hermaeus Mora's sphere, and that's sort of your main interaction with her, is helping find where these threads of fate are going and how they point to the various villains that are at play. The other one I'll mention is Meln the Mouthless, who is this weird character that I just created to kind of embody the Telvanni Peninsula. He's the ghost of a magister. He's kind of a grumpy old man that talks like this.
Kind of like Finn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, only likable.
That's fair. That's fair.
He's like, oh, my lumbago. But he's actually a ghost that lives in a soul gem that you keep in your pocket. And the idea is very similar to a character that I wrote for the Deadlands, Erox the Mutilator. Just like,
Have you heard of him? I thought you might have heard of him.
You just love to narratively be in people's ears
I
as
do.
they run around.
If I could, I would
The
just sit
disembodied
behind
voice.
somebody playing the game. I'd be like, oh, look at that. There's a
You're
dragon.
gonna hear this. You're gonna hear this.
You meet Melon pretty early in main quest, and the moment you meet Melon is one of my favorites I won't spoil it, but it's very funny. I
Yeah.
loved it, yeah.
He's great. There's so many great characters. I don't want to spoil any more, but there's also not just new characters, there's returning ones. So, yeah, Naryu's coming back.
There you go.
Maybe you heard of her.
Yeah.
And a personal favorite of mine, Sotha Sil, will be making an appearance. And for the rest, we'll just have to play and see.
Yeah.
Well, we also I'm speechless here. We announced that we're going to be adding 2 new companions as well with the launch of Necrom. So for those that may not know, companions are essentially like adventuring buddies in ESO that you can kind of call upon when you need a hand in combat. You can summon them anytime. They fight alongside you, and you can also choose their gear, their abilities. They have a whole personality. There's a rapport system, so they're a super robust system. We have a few existing companions already, but the newest companions coming to Necrom are Sharp and Xander. So Tom, can you talk a little bit more about their personalities and where players are going to find them?
Of course. So we wanted to do something a little bit different, keep things fresh compared to our previous companions. So Sharp and Xander are both a little bit more worldly. They're a little bit older. Sharp is our Argonian warden. He is a tough-as-nails bounty hunter. His life has been shaped by sort of the Telvanni Peninsula and all the hard jobs he's had to pull. Xander is our kind of crazy arcanist who's been in Apocrypha maybe just a little too long, but he's this bombastic and brilliant mage who needs help plumbing the depths of reality.
Well, just like with the companion system, we are making updates to some other existing systems as well. So there's going to be a new patron deck coming to Tales of Tribute called Almalexia.
Yeah.
And of course, there's going to be some new antiquities rewards that you'll be able to find in the Necrom zone. So we should talk about the last place that players are going to be able to explore, and it's that new region called Chroma Incognito. So Tom, what is this new zone in Apocrypha?
Yeah, so it's a wholly original creation that we made for the Necrom release. We knew that we wanted to do two things with this new region, right? We wanted to kind of maintain the themes and stylings of Apocrypha, but also create like a really stark contrast, a vivid contrast to the bleak libraries that I think people all know when they think of Apocrypha. And vivid contrast ended up being quite literal. We had a lot of really weird ideas about where this could have gone, and we ended up all coalescing around like alien shimmering color, you know.
We didn't want to do a monochromatic zone. You know, sometimes Oblivion plains can be like, it makes sense in Cold Harbor. It's a hellscape. You know, it's oppressive by nature. But we didn't want Hermaeus Mora's realm to feel oppressive in that way, right? Like it's a physicalization of someone who's collecting all things collectible, as I said earlier, and why not put color into that, right? Why not give the eye places to go and colors to see?
Yeah, and it also is where we kind of really play with the idea of what is a library without books, right? Like Hermaeus Mora is cataloging knowledge doesn't necessarily mean that he's literally only looking at things that are words on a page, right? So like, what is the Apocrypha version of microfiche, you know?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the Apocrypha version of microfiche?
It's a small fish. It's a small fish, Gina. It's a small fish.
Microfiche. It's like,
Some
really
people
small
know what
fish.
she's talking
it's
about.
like fiche, but micro.
Fish, but micro.
Right. You all know what microfiche is? I'm sure there's somebody in Twitch chat that hasn't heard of this.
Yeah, Chroma Incognito is kind of like the deadly children's section of like the library or something. It's colorful walls and stuff like that, but it can kill you.
Fair enough. Sounds about right for World of Tamriel, right? Well, I'm sure some of you are wondering, so I'm going to be the one to ask. What is the story behind the name?
Well, it sounds cool, right? And
Really cool.
yeah, maybe Chroma is Greek and maybe incognito is Latin and maybe it should properly be incognita, but you know, it sounds cool, right?
Well, a god who's studied all languages would pull from all languages.
Yeah, Hermaeus Mora doesn't care if you're a classics major.
Sure,
Right.
Go with that.
Well, one of the things we briefly mentioned in January are these new world events that we're going to be adding in Necrom. Before we get into details, though, for maybe some folks watching on the stream that aren't familiar with what world events are, Finn, why don't you explain what makes these so special?
Yeah, so world events are a chance in overland content for us to get some organic grouping together. So get players that are kind of exploring the zone to see a big, cool thing and then go meet up with their friends and kill it. So that's pretty much the gist of what world events are.
All right, well, let's talk more about these new world events that are in Necrom. They are called Bastion Nimic.
Yeah, so Bastion Nimic is a fortress in Apocrypha. Nimics are, as we all know,
Of course.
the true names of Daedra. If you know a Daedra's Nimic, you get control over them. This is where Hermaeus Mora just was like, hey, I should keep all my Nimics together in one place. And then some malevolent forces who are also at play in the main quest saw that and decided they wanted to steal those Nimics and try to amass that power for themselves. Hermaeus Mora's gaze is spread a little thin in the Necrom release, so he's put out an APB for players to help come to Bastion Nimic, drive out these invaders, and restore peace. And the rewards are great for those who can help them out.
Yeah. We did something a little bit different for this. So if you guys remember the Oblivion portals, you went in and it was kind of a public dungeon type zone where everybody can kind of go into it. This is the first time for a world event that we're actually going to use 4-player instances. So you're going to be able to go out. It's also quest driven, so you'll get a daily quest, which will allow you to get the things you need in order to access this place. Then you can either go in solo or go in with friends, up to 4 players, and kind of explore this. It's almost like a dungeon. You can explore this area and kind of get fat loots.
Well, I don't know about you all, but I am looking forward to checking this out because I love that kind of stuff. So while we're talking about group content, we should also discuss the new trial, which is...
There they are.
Well, all right.
So this is our content that's designed for 12 players.
Yes. Yeah, we range in difficulty from normal to try hard. So for those players that want to go in there and experience a more casual kind of experience, they can go in there with 11 friends and tackle some of these challenges. And then if you really want to push the limits, you can go to veteran or even hard modes and really push for the top of the leaderboards and stuff.
Well, the new trial is called Sanity's Edge. Finn, why don't you give everyone a little preview of what they can expect here?
Yeah, so
Hype it up, Finn.
yeah. So Sanity's Edge is most of the time when we do a trial, it's a physical location in the world. You go to a physical space. So for this one, it's a little bit different. Some mage has decided to study a Daedric artifact, and he didn't do it with the normal precautions. So he unleashed a malevolent creature into his mind, and now you are going to bring 11 of your friends into his mind in order to free him from the torment that he has. You're seeing some things on screen here that you may recognize some of the places you go, because you're basically exploring his dreams and his nightmares as you go through this. So you may see some familiar areas that from other parts of the game.
You know, my psychiatrist recommended I have 12 Elder Scrolls players.
Yeah,
kind of go in my brain.
It's catching steam. It's like that's the new diagnosis.
Thank God
now.
my insurance covered it.
Yeah. It's very rarely covered.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we can't talk about the trial without talking about some of the rewards. So for those of you who complete all the trial achievements, and yes, that includes the no death speedrun hard mode, you will earn yourself a brand new mount. This is the Dark Ram mount. So if you see players running around on this mount, you'll know they have completed some of the hardest content that we have in the game.
They're the GOAT.
Now, we actually have another mount that you'll be able to earn in the zone by completing several key achievements throughout Necrom. This is going to be a brand new Nixox.
Your favorite!
We like to call this one the Gina Bruno.
The Gina
Special,
Bruno.
right?
Come on, Gina, it glows underneath. Look how cute that is. Come on, don't you want to ride that sucker?
I can't wait to see a whole bunch of those running around all over the place. Well, I want to give a huge thank you to Finn, to Tom, to CJ for giving us such a great preview of all the upcoming content.
Every time.
I say it every day.
Every day.
So don't forget, this does release June 5th for PC and Mac and June 20th for consoles, and it's coming to PTS on Monday.
Woo.
Yeah.
So we had a great time chatting with everyone today. It has been such a pleasure to be back in person in Las Vegas with everybody. This was
It's
a
so
really
great.
fun story.
So awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, I do want to hand it over to my friends Jess and Amy, who are going to be sharing some more details about the quality of life updates coming to update 38.
Thanks, Gina. So we've heard a lot about Necrom today. We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the additional things happening now and coming to ESO with update 38, the base game update that is free to all ESO players.
Yeah, so coming with update 38, we'll be introducing some new features to help you stay better organized. First, you'll be able to favorite some of the collectibles you've earned in-game. You can designate your favorite mounts from your collection, and anytime you summon up your mount, a random one from your favorites list will appear. Yeah. Furnishing bundles from the Crown Store will now also automatically be put into containers, taking up just one space in your inventory. I know, yeah. So you can take those items out and organize at your leisure. And get excited, anglers. Filleting fish just got a whole lot easier. You will now be able to use any provisioning station to fillet all those stacks of fish with a single action.
We'd also like to talk about a few things that are either happening now, just happened, or are soon to be upcoming. So first off, in our ongoing work to consolidate when daily and weekly timers reset in ESO, campaigns and monthly leaderboards for Cyrodiil and Tales of Tribute will reset on the first of the month at the daily reset time with the launch of Update 38. Also, sharing Hircine's gift for werewolf lycanthropy and noxophilic sanguivora for vampirism will change from a 7-day timer or 7-day cooldown to be on the weekly reset with the launch of Update 38. Yeah, you either love her or you hate her, Stuga. Stuga will no longer relentlessly follow you with the launch of Update 38. She's now going to be stationary near certain taverns in Daggerfall, Davin's Watch, and Volkelgard. She will still try to flag you down, but she'll no longer chase you, and her greeting line will only play when you're within certain proximity of her. And then, as with all of our major updates, we'll have some new player houses available. The first is an in-room called Journeys and Lodgings. There's also a large house called Emissaries Enclave. And then, saving the best for last, the Fair Winds. This is a player house that is something we've never done before, yes. It is a literal moving ship. So the islands and terrain do move in the distance, so it looks like the ship is moving through the water while you're on it. If you fall off, the current will sweep you away from the ship, so watch your step. And the view from the crow's nest is amazing, not to be missed. See if you can spot some ornogs playing in the waves in the distance. This is one player house you're not going to want to miss out on. It will come out sometime after the launch of Necrom, but you can check it out on the PTS along with the other two starting next week. And then we'd also like to tell you about a few other things, including the Scribes of Fate launch, in case you missed it. Did launch last month. This came with 2 new dungeons, Balsanar and Scrivener's Hall, complete with, I like this guy, complete with new challenges and rewards and the start of the Shadow over Morrowind storyline. As Gina mentioned earlier in the stream, the Necrom prologue questline did release today. This is free content available to all ESO players. When you complete the Necrom prologue questline, you can get your very own ancient relic of Hermaeus Mora, the unstable emerald glyphic memento.
We also have several upcoming in-game events. So as many of you know, ESO just turned 9. Yeah. So log in and help us celebrate with some birthday fun during our anniversary Jubilee event, which is happening in-game now until April 18th. And during this event, you'll be able to unlock this year's unique tentacular Jubilee cake. And starting next week, you'll be able to get an early look at Update 38 and the Necrom chapter on PTS, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, which goes live on April 17th. And then next month, we'll be kicking off our White Strakes Mayhem, our first one of the year. Yeah. Followed by our second encore White Strakes Mayhem event in June. So be on the lookout for more details about that event and this year's rewards.
We'd also like to share an update on our ongoing hardware refresh efforts. As many of you are aware, we've been hard at work refreshing all the hardware in our data centers to ensure our players can enjoy ESO for many years to come. We finished the PC North America server work last year, and PC European server work just completed last week. The community's feedback has been phenomenal so far. We will complete the PlayStation EU work next week, and then Xbox North America and PlayStation North America work will be completed in May, and the Xbox EU server work will be done later this year. So please see our post on the official ESO forums for more information.
From the lush Telvanni Peninsula to the endless library of Apocrypha, we've given you an inside look at what lies ahead with Necrom. The Elder Scrolls Online Necrom chapter arrives June 5th for PC and Mac, and June 20th for Xbox and PlayStation. If you pre-purchase the chapter, you'll receive the Sadrith Morris Spore Steed mount, and if you pre-purchase before April 18th, You'll also receive the matching Hermaeus Mora Spore pony pet, so don't miss out on your last chance to receive both of those things. Our free play event is also happening now until April 17th, so if you're new to ESO or if you have a friend who's also looking to start their journey in Tamriel, you can jump in game for free right now to get started.
Our latest gifting promotion is also happening now until April 13th. When you gift 5 event tickets to other players in game, you can get 4 Rage-bound Crown Crates by May 31st. We also have a number of sales going on now, of course we do, that you can take advantage of. They include the base game and High Isle chapter and crown packs. You can check our handy sales article on the official ESO site or your favorite platform store for details.
Thank you so much to our host Gina, to Matt, Rich, and to all of our developers who shared their experience working on Necrom today. For everybody here with us in person today, stick around. We have a lot more in store for you. And for everybody watching at home from around the globe, thank you so much for joining us today. You can follow along on our official social channels for more coverage of the ESO celebration and all things Necrom. And until next time, we'll see you in Tamriel.